Okay, so have you ever wondered if all those big romantic gestures are actually necessary for a happy relationship?
Mm,
We're going to find out today as we do a deep dive into the idea of love unwrapped.
yeah,
We're going to figure out once and for all if romantic gestures are overrated or if they're like the key to a lasting love.
right.
We've got some really interesting source material from a proposed podcast episode with the same name, and there are some wild stories in there
Oh, yeah?
about couples who swear by these grand gestures and others who say it's the little everyday things that really matter.
Yeah, it's fascinating, because we think about romantic gestures and we often jump to those big over-the-top Hollywood moments.
Right.
But really, it's this whole spectrum
Yeah.
from, elaborate surprises to those tiny little things that can just make your partner's day.
Exactly. Is it more about whisking someone away on a hot air balloon ride, or is it about just surprising them with takeout after a long day at work?
Yeah, like I'd personally probably choose the takeout.
Me too,
Yeah.
honestly.
But, it's not really about saying one is better than the other.
Right.
It's more about understanding what these gestures even mean to different people.
Yeah, and that's one of the first things the source material does is try to define romantic gestures.
Yeah,
And it's not just about, spending a ton of money or anything like that.
exactly. A romantic gesture is any action you do that expresses love and affection to your partner
Right?
in a way that's meaningful to them.
Yeah.
Think about it. Even a small gesture can be way more powerful than something generic and expensive if it just hits the right way.
Yeah, and this reminds me of this one story in the source material about this couple who started leaving each other love notes
Oh, wow.
around the house during a really, really stressful period of their lives.
Oh,
And it became this adorable little daily ritual that helped them stay connected,
that's sweet.
even when everything else was chaotic.
I love that.
It just shows you that the little things can make a huge difference.
It really does. And it highlights that these gestures can be powerful expressions of love and appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's really interesting?
What's that?
Even those little shared experiences can trigger the release of oxytocin,
Oh, wow.
that bonding hormone.
Right.
So it's like science is on the side of romantic gestures.
Okay, so that's a point for a team gesture, but
Yeah.
the source material doesn't just focus on the positives, does it?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's a whole other side to this argument,
Right.
and it's not just about people being cynical.
Okay.
One of the main points against romantic gestures is that they can lead to some seriously unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, it's like you always have to outdo yourself.
Right.
Keep up with these picture-perfect relationships you see on social media.
Exactly, and nobody needs that kind of pressure.
No.
And also, let's be real for a sec, money problems can cause issues in any relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So if those grand gestures are putting you in debt,
Right.
they might be doing more harm than good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's a great example in here, actually,
Now tell me.
about a couple who decided to ditch those fancy dinners
Mm-hmm.
and weekend getaways
Okay.
and instead focus on just spending quality time together.
Like movie nights on the couch and actually talking.
Exactly.
That sounds pretty great.
Yeah, and they found that focusing on those simple, everyday moments brought them way more joy than any expensive gesture ever could.
So where does this leave us? Are we pro-gesture or anti-gesture?
Well, that's the point of this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's not about picking a side.
Okay.
Preferences vary, so what works for one couple might be a total disaster for another.
Right.
It's all about finding what really works within your specific relationship.
Okay, I'm starting to get it's less about following some romantic rule book
Right.
and more about figuring out what works for you and your partner.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. And that's why communication is so important.
Uh-huh.
Couples need to be open and honest about their expectations,
Right.
what they prefer, and what makes them feel loved.
So it's like figuring out your partner's love language, right?
Yeah, speaking of love languages,
Okay.
the source material goes into this concept.
Yeah.
And it basically says that we all experience and express love in different ways.
I love that it's like those personality quizzes that everyone loves
Yeah, exactly.
for relationships.
Right. For some people, it might be receiving gifts,
Mm-hmm.
while others value quality time more,
Yeah.
or maybe acts of service.
Okay.
The key is knowing what really speaks to your partner.
Okay, so how do we do that? Do we have to become love detectives or something?
Well, the source material actually has a pretty simple solution.
Okay.
Just have a conversation with your partner about what makes them feel loved and appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
What gestures have been the most meaningful to them in the past?
Yeah.
What makes them feel really seen and understood.
That's such a simple idea, but it's brilliant.
Right.
It takes all the guesswork out of it.
Exactly.
Now, the source material also gives some really good tips on how to actually put those gestures into action, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
One of the best pieces of advice is to focus on those small but thoughtful gestures.
Okay. I like that.
It's a good reminder that you don't always need to plan some huge romantic production to make an impact.
I am all about that low effort, high impact.
Right.
So what kind of things are we talking about here?
Well, it's about those little things,
Mhm.
making their favorite coffee in the morning,
Okay.
sending a sweet text during the day,
Yeah.
maybe even just offering a back rub after a long day.
See, those are things anyone can do.
Exactly.
You don't need to like hire a party planner
No,
to make your partner feel special.
exactly. And these small gestures may seem insignificant on their own,
Right.
but over time, they create this sense of warmth and appreciation.
Yeah.
It's like you're constantly putting little deposits into the emotional bank account of your relationship.
I love that.
Right.
Okay, so we've got communication. We've got small gestures down.
Yeah.
What else does the source material recommend?
Well, it also encourages a little spontaneity.
Okay.
Now, don't worry, this isn't about becoming some unpredictable romantic whirlwind.
Oh, good, because that sounds exhausting.
It's really just about finding those unexpected moments to connect, break away from the routine,
Okay.
do something out of the ordinary.
So less about elaborate schemes
Yeah,
and more about just being present and in the moment.
exactly.
See, gotcha.
It could be as simple as going for a walk in the park after dinner,
Mm-hmm.
surprising them with a silly little gift,
Okay.
or maybe putting on some music and dancing in the kitchen.
Oh, I like that.
It's just about bringing that little spark of playfulness and surprise into your relationship.
And you know what? I think those spontaneous gestures actually end up feeling more meaningful
Yeah,
because they come from a genuine place.
it's like you're saying, hey, I was thinking of you,
Right.
and I wanted to do something special just because.
Exactly. Not because you felt like you had to.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got communication, small gestures, and a little spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this deep dive isn't just about analyzing other people's relationships, right?
No, definitely not.
It's about taking all the stuff we've been talking about and actually using it in your own life.
Exactly. This isn't just about like theories and ideas.
Right.
It's about actually helping you make stronger connections with the people you care about.
So let's think about everything we've talked about.
Yeah.
What really stood out to you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like those big romantic gestures, or do you think those smaller everyday things are more important?
Yeah. And how can you use all of this in your own relationships?
Right, like think about the people you care about.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any small gestures you could start doing
Yeah.
that would show them you care?
Exactly.
The source material ends with this great question, and I want to ask it to you now.
Okay.
What's one small thing you could do today to show someone you care?
It could be for your partner, a friend, family member, or even a stranger.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything big or expensive.
It's about putting all these ideas into action.
Right.
Because it's not about checking things off a list.
No,
It's about showing up for the people that matter to us.
it really is. It's about genuine connection
Yeah,
and expressing that love and appreciation in a way that feels right for you.
exactly. So as you go about your day today, keep that question in mind.
Yeah.
What small gesture can you make that will brighten someone's day and make your relationships even stronger?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's those little things that make the biggest difference.
Absolutely.